I think it's easy to get carried away with a formal or technical definition of behavioral economics. Behavioral economics represents a mix of different disciplines that converge, principally around how people make decisions, choices, and how those choices or decisions influence their behavior. Contrary to historical views that focused on the rational models or how we rationally engage with the planet, behavioral economics tends to upscale or focus primarily on how the more irrational part of human thinking, looking at patterns in irrationality. Why this is particularly important is if one follows the intellectual tradition of Richard Taylor and Cass Sunstein, decisions are rarely, if ever, made in a neutral context. Why that is particularly important is behavioral economics provides the means for influencing the context in which decisions are made with a view to influencing those decisions. Clients or the commercial sector finds the first value in behavioral economics more from a novelty perspective. Someone's read a book, someone's attended a lecture and they find it interesting. But in truth, behavioral economics only has value in its ability to address clients' business problems. And in that respect, it proves particularly powerful. It isn't a science that appeals to or is attracted to all business problems, but specifically where you have high customer interactions. In the work that I do, I focus a lot on financial services, specifically retail financial services. And we're looking for opportunities where we're able to influence consumer decision making and behavior. Where that value typically lies is in channel activities. So that might be from a conversation that branch staff have with a customer in selling or marketing products, or it might be as simple as a short message in an SMS, so in 160 characters. But there are obviously more complex channels of behavior where one is able to influence and discover value. And that is, for example, in apps or online, where one has a multitude of different opportunities for influencing consumer decisions as they journey through their interactions with that corporate client. One of my favorite examples of behavioral economics in practice comes from a particular client of ours who is a very large services company, financial services company in South Africa. It is diverse in its interests, but specifically the problem that we were working with is within their pension business. In terms of regulations in South Africa, when a person resigns or is fired and the like, they have the legal right to withdraw their pensions that they might have been putting away for a vast number of years while they've worked. They're able to exit those funds to another pension provider, or they can simply cash out those funds. The specific problem that this commercial business faced was that disproportionate to the industry, they had a large number of their clients, when they've finished or terminated employment, they withdrew their funds. That obviously represented a massive problem, given the fact that these assets are outflowed to often competitors. And so departing from the commercial problem, what we were asked to do is to help stem this particular problem. In the journey that we traveled with this client, we did a number of things. Probably the most interesting, for the sake of this conversation, was redesigning a piece of paper or a form that customers were asked to complete when exiting employment. There were a couple of important features of this document that, from a behavioral perspective, needed rethinking. The one was the form itself was titled a withdrawal form. It presupposed that the customer would withdraw the funds. At a simple level, what we did was simply change the name of the document in a way that wasn't obvious to the fact that we needed them to retain the funds, but it wasn't obvious that they needed to at least queue them on the withdrawal. The second feature, and probably more important in this specific instance, is we reframed the conversation to focus on how much money was required typically to retire. What we discovered in our insights process is that customers, when hearing how much money that they'd been putting away, they often viewed that amount of money as disproportionately large for a range of different reasons. What we did instead is, by anchoring these customers through on the amount of money that you needed for retirement first, and then reflected how much money they had, could show the fact that to squander or spend this money would be ill-advised. Although one might see this as direct manipulation of the customer's choice, the fact that we were able to retain funds in a positive way for the long-term pension of the individuals involved, this we see as a very conscionable behaviour to nudge. In the testing that we ran, the test had two components. In the test, we retained funds by an increase of 136%. In the final rollout, we were increasing the retention of funds by 155%. Just testimony to the fact that with behavioral economics, you can make quite small changes, in this instance to a form, and have large impacts to people's lives, as well as the commercial profitability of that business.